A couple of things before I talk about Raw this week. Number one, if you missed it on Sunday night, I feel bad for you. Even in spite of all the blog talk radio difficulties, imagine that. You pay for a service and it doesn't freaking work. Well, if you missed out with my interview with the Solar Monster, that you may know from his podcast on podbean.com and through his many appearances on the TV Tracks channel here on youtube.com. You could check out that interview that I did with the Solar Monster from this past Sunday in the description box down below. Also, to help you get ready for WrestleMania 30, this easy for me to say, Sunday. If you haven't done so already, feel free to check out the WrestleMania review series. I reviewed WrestleManias 1 through 28, and the link to that playlist is in the description box down below. Now, let's get to the business at hand, which is Raw this week. I'm not really going to go into an incredibly in-depth review on this show. I don't really feel like it, frankly. This is kind of one of these shows that I'm kind of torn on, and here's what I mean. Is that the WWE really touched on just about everything they needed to touch on that was pertaining to WrestleMania 30. They didn't have a whole lot of stuff on the show that didn't directly relate to WrestleMania 30 in some way, shape, or form. Now, the path in the journey during that 3 hours to touch on all of those things might not have been all that great. But I do give credit to the WWE, at least, for utilizing the Go Home show to at least, if nothing else, address everything that is going to happen at WrestleMania 30. They tried their best, I think, in some ways at least, to really ramp up the excitement on this last Raw before WrestleMania 30. Although it did seem like a little bit, as I was watching the show, it almost felt like they've kind of phoned it in a little bit, and they're just like, hell, it is what it is at this point. Let's get ready for Sunday. I get that. I understand that. But that doesn't necessarily mean it made for an incredibly great or entertaining watch this week, because that it did not. It started off all right, but even here you're kind of torn. You've got Taker making his appearance, and he's getting a great reaction, and then Lesnar comes out and teases a couple of different times that he's going to go at it with Taker, and eventually he finally does. And here, after all of this time, you finally have Brock Lesnar looking dominant and looking strong and looking imposing and looking like at least some shred of a real threat to end the streak at WrestleMania this Sunday. But as a lot of people quipped on Twitter, this is too little, far too late. And at first I was a fan of the build-up to this in the sense that it was kind of a keep us simple, stupid mentality. But then it got to the point where they weren't really doing much to go out of their way to put Brock Lesnar over as a way to get over the fact that he could actually beat the streak on Sunday. So in a way, while this was a really good opening segment, on the flip side, it did feel like in a lot of ways that it was too little, too late. Now, I know a lot of you are sitting there and thinking to yourself that I was responsible, that I was solely responsible for that Triple H video package on Raw. It's Triple H and praising God and Ego and Breakfast Club. I mean, they went out of their way to show God's reign of terror on Raw for 2002 to 2003. No, I didn't put it together, because if I would have put even more faces on there. You'll notice they stayed away from The Undertaker and Ultimate Warrior and opponents like that at WrestleMania. I'm just saying. But that was awesome. They did an awesome job to me on this Raw of really trying to establish Triple H as a no doubt about it heel. Now, during the promo segment, apparently a lot of people felt like Triple H buried Fandango, went out of his way to bury Fandango unnecessarily. I slightly disagree, and here's the only reason I say that is that he was talking about the fact that the fans get bored very quickly. They are always looking for a flavor of a month, and when they finally get that flavor of the month that they really like the taste of, they've already tried to find that next flavor of the month. And he's absolutely correct. There's a lot of truth in that. You could say he's trolling people and this and this. Well, he buried Fandango. Actually, he said that he was a quality talent. He said that he was at least a B-plus player, if not an A player, which in the grand scheme of things, wouldn't that be the same thing that he said about Daniel Bryan, was that he was at best a B-plus player? So right there, even though he talked about Fandangoing and being a fad and being just a quick little thing and how quickly fans lost interest, which is 100% true. He buried a guy like Fandango by giving him at least the same letter grade at a minimum to a Daniel Bryan who will be facing at WrestleMania 30, if not viewing him as a higher grade and actually saying he was a quality talent. Now look, you know nobody will call out God and the Breakfast Club more for some of their burial tactics than the Schleg Daddy. So don't you dare take to the freaking comment section and try and call me out on this. I'm calling you jokers out on this because apparently you didn't actually pay attention and you didn't actually watch the freaking segment. I get what you might say is, well, if it wasn't needed, why go there? I get that. Maybe you didn't need to go there. But at least they are trying to not play the middle, and they're not trying to ride the fence with this. They are trying to go all the way, all balls out to try and get Triple H over as a monster heel. It was funny that Dave Bautista tried to come out wearing his Patrick Ewing jersey in his hometown to try and get the babyface pop. Kind of worked and kind of didn't. I mean, that's kind of how I would describe a lot of this show. It kind of worked and it kind of didn't. If you really think about it, hold on. But yeah. I mean, that's why I don't even think I'm spending a whole lot of time putting a lot of effort into this review because it felt like I said, in a lot of ways, the WWE said, here's the bullet points that we need to touch. You know, like they gave you an 8-man tag. That pretty much felt like in a lot of ways what the tag title match is going to be on the freaking pre-show. This is one of the many reasons why I wanted the Usos to wait until WrestleMania to win the straps because I had a feeling that they were going to fucking sit there and put the tag title match on the pre-show. Now, certain individuals who shall remain nameless unless their name is Deluxeman would sit there and say, oh, come on, they were going to put the tag titles on the pre-show anyways, even if the New Age Outlaws had them. I said bullshit, and rightfully so, because look who's actually involved on the WrestleMania card now. You could sit there and say, well, they were on the pre-show and the Rumble. The Rumble's a Big Four show, but the Rumble is at WrestleMania. Do you really think Triple H's drinking buddies are going to sit there and allow themselves to be on the pre-show at WrestleMania? Get the fuck out of here. That ain't happening. Wake up. But what is happening, unfortunately, is the Usos are going to be defending their tag straps on the pre-show at WrestleMania. How incredibly disappointed I am. A lot of you may be wondering, does that mean we're going to get an I Love Samoa celebration either way? I don't know. Maybe it'll be on the WrestleMania 30 review pre-show, if there is one. I don't know. They had AJ and Naomi with all the little lumber sluts all around, and it was kind of sad to see Naomi lose the bedazzled eye patch. I was actually kind of hoping that was going to be a gimmick of hers. Arg. But yeah, like I said, this was, again, one of these things, and I apologize if this is not one of the better reviews that you've gotten out of me. This isn't. And I think part of the reason is that I just was so not invested in this show. And like I said, it's like I want to praise it, but I also want to go all the way in on it. And ultimately just kind of got a half-ass show. And as a result, as I used to do back with the original Off the Rope show and often with OTRS Central, the review mirrors the show, and as a result, half-ass show gets a half-ass effort review. Ultimately, what I was wanting to see was with the main event. You've got Batista. You've got Randy Orton. It was made no DQ. You knew somebody was going to get involved. You just knew it. You knew they couldn't go 2 straight weeks on the road to WrestleMania without having Daniel fucking Bryan appear on the show. Triple H and Stephanie on commentary, gold. The whole way this finished out, to the point where Batista and Randy Orton in their match just took a back seat. Gold. The only concern I have about this, though, was like, what's more important? Is Daniel Bryan beating Triple H more important? Or is Daniel Bryan beating Triple H so he can get a shot at the WWE World Heavyweight Championship and maybe win it at WrestleMania 30 more important? The way it was presented on television, and you could sit there and say, well, that's because it's the first step. You can't get to step 2 without getting over step 1. I get that. But it's almost like they've put more emphasis on and more focus on Daniel Bryan beating Triple H. They've invested so much in that still makes me kind of concerned whether or not they're going to go all the way with Daniel Bryan this Sunday at WrestleMania 30. Especially because of the fact that when you look at it, they didn't have Daniel Bryan on the show at all last week. This week, It was just at the very end. It was a very fleeting moment. And what a great moment it was. And ultimately, in a lot of ways, that helped save this show for me. It really did. Because the type of go-home show I would expect you to have for a WrestleMania that really gets your blood going, that really gets you excited, just wasn't there. You know, even the whole stuff with Cena and the Wyatt family. And I thought it was kind of cool how Cena is behind him in the ring when the lights are off and he's wearing the freaking sheep mask. That was pretty cool. Um, his promo backstage, he actually for once cut out the bullshit and he got serious. And sometimes when Cena gets serious and not corny, dopey serious, but just regular serious, he ends up being really good. And he was here. Fuck what the haters say. I hate on Cena enough. I'll give credit where credit's due. His backstage interview, his backstage promo was really, really damn good. He got rid of all the childish bullshit, and he said, you know what? This is serious business. I'm going to kick this dude's ass at WrestleMania 30. So, with that said, I look forward to WrestleMania 30 this Sunday. There will be plenty more stuff to come on this channel the rest of the week pertaining to this show. Like I said again, I apologize for the half-assedness of this review, but it mirrors the half-assedness the WWE seemed to give me on this Raw. I will applaud once again the effort to go out of their way to touch on everything pertaining to WrestleMania in some way, shape, or form. But this show, I don't know what it was, and maybe you can let me know in the comments. What was this show missing? Was it just missing more excitement? Was it missing better structure in the way that they built towards some of these matches at WrestleMania? What was it? And this is what I'm hoping doesn't happen on Sunday at WrestleMania 30. That it's not, well, you've got all of these different elements. You hit a little here. You don't do a lot here. Maybe you have one huge hit here. Not much there. And then the end of the night, and you hope that's supposed to save the entire show. No. This is a very important WrestleMania for the WWE on many, many different levels. And I hope that they don't sit there and think that they can just go down to New Orleans, go down to the Superdome, and say, yes, it's WrestleMania. We got 70,000 plus people here. This is a great show because it's a big show because we fucking say so. No. Instead of needing a show to put in a stadium, they need to give us the type of effort that justifies needing a stadium for a show. I have my concerns, especially, like I said, based off of what was done on Raw this week. I really do. It's just a few more days away. WrestleMania 30. Yeah,